Hello. So I thought I would take this tiny bit of free time that I have while she's sleeping on me to tell you my birth story. A lot of you have been asking, which I was kind of surprised about. I mean, I was gonna do it anyway, and I actually did try and vlog a lot of my labour, not really like the labour, like I just don't have it in me to whip out the camera and start recording when I'm fully in labour. And also I'm way too embarrassed in front of people. I don't even know if you're allowed to have a camera in the delivery room, so I didn't get any footage in there, which, to be honest, it would have been lovely to even get like the second she was born, just to have for myself, because I still remember it now, but I hope I always do, do you know what I mean? So that would have been lovely to have. But I've got a lot of like how my labour started, like a lot of, I tried to labour at home for as long as I could, and like the days leading up to it and stuff. So I do a vlog with all of that in it that will probably make more sense, but I'll go into all of it now in detail, because the vlog is kind of going to be all over the place because of the fact that I kind of just stopped vlogging once I really got into labour. So yeah, sorry about that. So I'm going to go through my birth story with you now. Bear with me though if I'm like back and forth and back and forth. I feel like it's quite blurry to me. I nearly should have gone here to fill in the blanks, I feel like, but yeah, hopefully you'll get the gist and you won't be too bored. Anyway, yeah, okay, so it kind of started like, basically my due date was Saturday the 1st of February, and the Thursday before we were going for a walk. All that week I was doing everything I could to try and induce labour, because I really didn't want to go over at all. So we were literally like going for way longer walks than normal. We were kind of just doing like a half an hour walk in the last few weeks of my pregnancy a day, so we were doing like at least an hour. I was drinking a Lucasade because my friend recommended that to me while I was walking. I was curb walking while we were out for a walk, and that really helps. Like, it's so good. You can like nearly feel the weight moving down and like the pressure on your pelvis, so that was great. And yeah, also that day, the Thursday before, is when on our walk I got like a shooting pain kind of at my back, and I was like, that is something I haven't felt before, and I kind of was like, this could be it. So I think I vlogged it. But yeah, I went home and I put on my brow tint and everything. I was like, I'm going into labour soon, and I didn't. But that night I did have like pretty much all night like little pains. They weren't bad, some of them woke me, but I could sleep through most of them, so like they weren't contractions, but I knew it was coming, if you get me, because they were like, yeah, probably every like 10 minutes kind of for the evening on the couch, and then when I went to bed, so I didn't sleep that well. And then the next day was Friday, and yeah, same kind of thing. We went for a walk. I kept drinking my raspberry leaf tea, which I think is meant to shorten labour and not bring on labour. Yeah, I was doing everything, eating dates, solving the cervix, like everything, you name it, I was doing it. And then same again, went for a long walk. We actually ended up having a curry for dinner on Thursday night, because we went to Con's parents and his mum made curry. And then Friday night we decided to go for an Indian, because we were like, this is definitely our last chance to go out for a meal, and also it's productive because it's bringing on labour. So yeah, we went for an Indian and asked for one of their dishes. I can't remember which one. It was like a garlic one, extra hot, and I was dying eating it. And then I got a korma to balance it out, so we split those. And then Friday night I had the same cramps again, the same pains again, on and off, like pains up my back. Mine was all just back pain. At the start it was just bad back pain, but like in intervals. Now it wasn't like properly spaced or anything, so I was thinking like they would be fake. I wasn't like, I'm fully in labour, but I kind of knew it was on the way. So yeah, Friday night I had the same pains but worse, so I was definitely awake a bit more with them. And then Saturday morning, same thing. I kind of still had the pains every so often, but they weren't too bad. So yeah, like I was starting to get contractions, but they weren't like properly spaced or whatever, so I was thinking I'm definitely in slow labour. So we went for a walk then Saturday morning, same again, got my Lucasade and did my curb walking, and like I was getting little contraction type pains that were not bad at all for the whole thing. We then came home and they started to get stronger, so I was just bouncing on my ball and stuff while Colin went out and like put the car seat in the car and like got stuff organised. But I wasn't sure, like I was like I might be going into labour by tonight, but I was like could be tomorrow. I just was like it's coming, but it didn't feel like it's like soon. But yeah, they started like gradually getting stronger and closer together. So then by like 9 p.m. that night, which is Saturday night, which is my due date, the 1st of February, I was like, the contractions were like starting to be nearly 2 or 3 minutes apart and be quite bad. So I was like, I feel like it's time to go in. I started to panic. So we went in to Hollis Street then about 9, half 9 in the evening, and they brought me up to the delivery room and they were like, you're not in labour yet, I don't think you're dilated at all. And my contractions also stopped when I got to the hospital. I don't know if it was because I was just like anxious when I got there, which apparently it's common, but they just went away. So I was like, perfect. So she was like looking at me like, you're dealing with them very well. I was like, yeah, because I don't have any. So yeah, that was fine. And well, it wasn't really, I was like fuck, but they were like, do you want to go home for the night and sleep in your own bed? I was like, I won't sleep tonight anyway because I've got contractions and I'll just be panicked that I need to come back in. Or they were like, do you want to go onto the antenatal ward and see if labour starts? So I decided to go into the antenatal ward. My friend who's a midwife was working there, so I feel like that helped because I was like a bit more calm. I had her to like encourage me. So yeah, we basically just kind of like tried to sleep, and I felt really nauseous as well, so they gave me an anti-nausea injection, and yeah, it was probably just nerves with me, to be honest. But yeah, then the contractions started to pick up again, and then like we were trying to sleep from like midnight, kind of 1 o'clock in the morning. I remember waking up every few minutes, like literally 2-3 minutes maybe, with another contraction. They were like getting quite unbearable, like they were so bad. I remember I was sitting on this weird seat thing, it's like a U shape kind of, and the pressure was just like whoa. So they gave me pethidine quite soon after I went to the antenatal, and I feel like I got a couple of hours, like maybe an hour or two, where they were way less intense and painful, but they were still painful. Pethidine is just like a strong painkiller, but it's no like epidural or anything, like it does not take them away. It took the edge off and it kind of let me have a bit of a sleep and relax a bit, and then they kind of built up a bit more. But yeah, by the time it wore off quite quickly, and then when it wore off I was dying. But it was okay, it was bearable. I was like able to get through them, like there was still a break, and Con was helping me so much. And then by 4 a.m. they checked me, and I think I was a bit dilated, like 3 centimeters or something, and they were like, okay, you can go down to a delivery room now. So I went down to a room, and yeah, they were like, it's fine, you're in labour. So I was like, thank God. So yeah, this is 4 a.m. like all of this time kind of flew by because I was like kind of half sleeping and like just kind of focusing on getting through all the contractions or whatever. So I was in labour for ages, but none of it felt that long, if you get me. It was all like different stages, so it was quite like okay. And then I was there. Okay, so she wasn't born for a good while. She was born, I went into the delivery room at 4 a.m. she wasn't born until 3 p.m. So yeah, I was in like labor for a while, but I got the epidural quite quickly. I was like, can I get it whenever I can? So they were like, yeah. I think they did a few like checks and a few bits, and then probably within like an hour, it felt like anyway an hour, they were like, okay, we'll call the anaesthetist now. So he came, and probably the most terrifying part for me nearly was the epidural. Like I was absolutely petrified to get it, but I also really wanted it because I was in like a good bit of pain by now, and I also really needed rest. Like I hadn't slept well in days, so I just kind of, yeah, needed it. So he did that. It was actually fine. It was quite quick, like it's not long that you have to stay still. I always thought like, oh god, if I move I will be in so much trouble, I'll be paralyzed, but I was fine. It was actually fine. They do it like between your contractions, and you don't even really notice that they're doing it, but it was just fine. So I just had to stay there. I feel like my back is still sore from how tensed up I was getting it. But yeah, so I made it through that, and then that kicked in pretty quick and it was great. It took away all the pain. Like I kind of some of the time knew that there was a contraction, but I didn't like fully feel it. Like it was so bearable, so I was kind of snoozing, and that was great. And then so they kind of just left me there. Like there was a midwife with us the whole time, but they kind of were just waiting for my contractions to pick up and for me to dilate more, so they kept checking every so often, and that was fine. Then actually after I got the epidural, they broke my waters. So now she's stirring. They broke my waters, and obviously fine because I had the epidural, didn't feel a thing. And then I was just kind of waiting. Then eventually, before she was born, I got to like, I think I was 8 centimeters. Then they left me another hour and I was 10 centimeters but undeliverable. So I was basically like my cervix was 10 centimeters dilated, but she wasn't far enough down the birth canal yet. So I was like, perfect. So they left me for another hour, and that hour was probably the most painful. Like the pressure was unbearable. Even though I had the epidural, they were saying to me, because the pressure came after the epidural, wouldn't work on it, so I could still feel the pressure, which was good for pushing, but it was like serious pressure. I was like, I literally, like, I have to push. Like I just felt like that. So after nearly the hour, I was like, I feel like I have to push. So the midwife was like, okay, and they checked and it was fine. I was ready to push, and then I'm scared, she's moving. Then I started to push. I was pushing for I think like 55 minutes, and to be fair, I actually really enjoyed pushing. Like I really liked it. It was kind of fun. But also it was like, oh god, because I really wanted her to be born, so I was just like giving it all that I could. Like I remember just being like, I'm just gonna give this everything I have. And she was moving down a lot, like they could see her head and stuff, but her head was kind of in the wrong position. She wasn't back to back or anything, but it was like, I can't remember what they said, her ears were in the wrong position slightly, so it would have been harder to get her out. So they had to use the suction cup to get her out, which I obviously had the epidural, so I was fine at the time. But they have to do an episiotomy with the suction cup, so they had to cut and kind of like twist her as they pulled her out. So yeah. But it was fine because I didn't know what was going on, and like I did, but I didn't feel anything. It wasn't sore at all. And then she was just born, and it was amazing. And I just remember them showing me her. Now I kind of need to go back a bit and fill you in on some bits that happened before she was born. So basically a couple of things then that happened. I had a really high temperature then after the epidural, and I think they said it could be to do with the epidural. I was shaking a lot, which is also a symptom of the epidural. But it's to do with your adrenaline as well, because I had it like when I was at home having contractions. I was shaking a bit, but yeah, they were worried that I had an infection, because when they broke my waters, they realized that she might have done a poo. I think they weren't like 100% sure. They were like, it could just be a bit of blood, we're not 100% sure. But yeah, they must have been kind of worried about it, because yeah, they kept checking my temperature, and then it wasn't going down, and I was like shaking like a leaf, which was horrible. But yeah, I was kind of okay with it, and then I started to panic when they were kind of panicking about it, if you get me. So they gave me then a full big liquid IV of paracetamol, and then they gave me 3 different antibiotics in case I had an infection, and then afterwards they gave me another antibiotic because of the episiotomy to make sure that that was okay, and then they gave me 5 days of antibiotic to go home from the hospital with as well. And I had another IV of it in the hospital before I went home. So I was full of liquid. They also gave me a big saline one. I was so full of liquid, and I actually think she was nearly full of liquid fluid when she was born, because she was so like pudgy, and now she's so tiny. Like she's got so much smaller. But yeah, so I don't know if she actually was the weight that they said she was. Well, she was that weight, but I don't know if she should have been, if you get me. But what else happened? Oh yeah, then they were worried about her at another point. So all these things were quite stressful, but the actual labour wasn't. Like, I was worried when these little things were going wrong, but other than that, the like contractions and other stuff was okay to get through, if you know what I mean. So yeah, then they were worried about her, so they basically did, this was quite just before she was born, they did a little, she has a little cross in her head, they did like a blood sample basically from her, and they like clip their head to get the blood sample. I literally heard the clip, it was hideous. Like, while she's still up there, they go up and do this, and they also put a monitor on her head, as well as the one around me, because they weren't happy with the reading from the one around me. So I was like, oh god. So that was a bit scary, but they were like, there's a few outcomes from this, like either it will come back fine or else we're going up for an emergency C-section. So I was like, oh god. So they came back fine. So yeah, then we continued on, and then she was born. All that happened. What else am I leaving out? I don't know if there's anything else. I kind of think that's it.
You done?
Yeah, I'm just done though. Yeah, I kind of think that's it. If you have any questions to do with it, let me know. We went home pretty quick then as well. We were in the hospital for like, I only stayed the one night, and then the next day we went home, but we were waiting so long for the pediatrician to check her and do like her reflex tests and stuff. We didn't end up leaving the hospital till like 6 p.m, so we were literally pacing around. We were so ready to go home. I was so excited to get out of there. But yeah, I think that's it. Hope you enjoyed.